Hello, YouTube friends! Today, I wanted to go back to a video which is not particularly a video series, which is not particularly beauty related. It is sometimes on the edges, but this one I wanted to just throw into Serious Talk Tuesdays, be a little bit political, and not necessarily be super beauty focused. The topic today for today's Serious Talk Tuesday is things that I think should be less controversial than they are. Alright, let's get started. I have 4 points today. Let's see if we can get them all in before my camera stops recording, which is 25 minutes. We'll see. We'll see. Point number one. Point that I think should be uncontroversial, but for some reason people don't think about things in this way. I think people should try to reduce the amount of trash, rubbish that they throw away, because it's ugly. In general, people try to recycle a bunch of, I think most of the houses in my neighborhood have recycling bins. They pay for recycling. We have recycling at my work. You know, most places try to recycle things and provide the ability for you as a person to recycle. But that is not exactly the point that I'm making. I think that people should, in general, try to produce less waste in general. Like, I don't care whether the trash should go in the recycling instead. Like, yes, if recycling is an option for you, sure, that's a great thing to be able to recycle things. But my perspective is we should try to throw less stuff away because trash is ugly. And this is not a thing that most people who live in the city, hi, city dweller, I don't want to be 20 minutes away from the grocery store and the gas station and an hour away from any show that I might want to see. That's just the kind of life that I want to live personally. But my parents are country people. They live out in the country. They like their house, which I call the middle of nowhere. It's technically 20 minutes from the nearest gas station and grocery store. I don't get it. I am very open that I don't get it anytime that we go there. It's just, they live a different life than I do. But since they live out in the country, I am familiar with the environs of country living. And you know what is more typically found out in the country than in the middle of a city? Dumps for your trash. Not dumps like hovels. Those exist also. But dumps like city dumps, places where you collect a bunch of trash. So, usually, this is not a major concern for most residential areas, but if you spend enough time driving in the country, eventually you're going to drive past a dump on a hot day and you're going to be like, whoo, that is nasty. And that is a giant pile of garbage. Okay. Because that is what dumps are. Or if you've ever had to throw away a large piece of furniture, for example, that's too old and ratty to go to Goodwill. You grab someone's truck, you borrow someone's truck, they lend you a truck. I'm not advocating stealing anyone's truck, in case you were wondering. You borrow someone's truck, and you take your old ratty piece of furniture to the dump, and you hold your nose, and then you manhandle it out of the truck and into a position where the people who maintain the dump can use their backhoe and their various heavy equipment to move it into the dump proper. And this is maybe I'm strange in that I've had this exposure, but whatever the case, I have had this exposure to dumps, to municipal trash heaps, and I think that people should, in general, try to produce less of that stuff by giving their clothes to Goodwill if they're in good enough condition to give away, or sending their furniture to the Salvation Army, or relocating it to a friend that's in need of furniture. Right, and using more biodegradable packaging, having a compost heap. Compost heaps don't smell unless you do it wrong. Most people don't know that, but and do I practice this? No, not at all. But it is a position that I have that people who want to be less wasteful, like recycling isn't the thing that you should be striving for. You should be striving to reduce your waste overall instead of just like moving all of your waste over into this recyclable trash heap. So that's my first point. I think that people should try to reduce their waste overall and not recycle more. Point number 2. There are parts of the world where throwing away a cotton pad is better for the environment than using water to wash a washcloth. The environmentalists are coming for me. I'm fine with it. So there is this. I watch Lauren May Beauty. I enjoy her content. She had a video, I don't know, probably 2 months ago, saying that she had looked into the environmental impact of glitter and that, you know, she wasn't going to be supporting it on her channel. Basically, it's the results of her research, which not at all the point of this video. I don't personally care about the environmental impact of glitter, but you are welcome to think whatever you want about the environmental impact of glitter and wear it or not wear it. Up to you. But I bring it up because I left a comment on that video, and I commented that because the concern was washing the glitter into the water supply and it winding up in the ocean and from there into seafood. So I left a comment. If this is, like if your concern is it getting into the water supply, one of the ways that you can deal with that, if you have glitter in your makeup and you don't want it to get into the water supply, you can remove whatever glitter you have on your eyes or your lips or your cheeks with a cotton pad and throw it away and then wash your face normally. And I got a comment back. Now, mind you, this was framed in the I don't personally subscribe to glitter is terrible for the environment. I pretty much explicitly said that. And, like, I don't think that it would be fair to say that my perspective is, my personal perspective is that I don't care about the environment, but I do think that a lot of what's described as care for the environment is fear-mongering and propaganda. Unpopular, I know. I don't care. Anyway, that's my perspective, and I think anyone reading my comment with the concept in their brain that this is a possible perspective would have understood probably that I was leaving a comment from that perspective. But the person who commented on my reply was, don't you know that cotton pads are really bad for the environment, though? Are you aware that the water table in California can't support the number of people that live in California? I'm just saying that maybe if you live in an area in the world where there's not that much rainfall and a lot of people also live and use water in that area of the world, maybe you should pay attention to what the local concerns of your environment are. Maybe. Possibly. Now, I live in the middle of the country, not in California, but still, I live in farmland, and there's not consistent rainfall year to year, and more people live here than the rainfall can necessarily support, given that there's also farming going on. So, I don't understand how people are like, throwing away cotton is terrible, and they don't think about maybe depleting the water table permanently is also pretty terrible. And this is kind of what bothers me about the environmentalism movement as a whole, that environments are very specific and local, right? So the Eat Local movement is about eating what's in season right around you, and there's an argument for that, if for no other reason than eating vegetables is great. But so many people that are in the environmental movement or somewhat environmentally aware just don't have any concept that environmental issues vary by location. There's not the same amount of rainfall everywhere in the world. There's not the same environmental concerns everywhere in the world. And in some parts of the United States of America, it is the opinion of environmental scientists that it's better to put plastic diapers on your baby than to use washable ones because the cloth diapers use so much water. That's a really old study. That's from like 20 years ago. You'd think that at some point it would have gotten some traction, that, water is an issue and depleting the water table is an issue. Environmental people People that have the environment in mind? No? No one? I'm not convinced of your creds. Alright, can I see your card? Oh, you care for the environment? I don't believe you, because you don't care about the water table. Moving on. Animals should be eaten, but they should be slaughtered humanely. Here again, we have a giant, I am definitely not lined up with this particular opinion in my personal behavior. But it has been my stance, and even has been my stance on my channel from the beginning. I don't have a problem with eating animals. I don't think that it's an ethical issue to eat animals, to kill animals. And this is mostly because if you let animals out into the wild, if you release all of your cows from their pastures and just let them roam free across the wilds of Texas and wherever else they herd cattle, they would be eaten by coyotes. Very quickly. Alright, domesticated animals are domesticated. They rely on us now. It would be cruel to let them go. Now, if there comes a point when you can let them roam wherever they want to and they're not eaten by predators, great, wonderful. Let's not keep them in fences anymore. I'm fine with that. Until then, we can eat them or we can leave them for the wolves. It's not nature. Have you ever watched a nature documentary? Lots of animals are eaten. Most of the animals that we eat would die if we left them in the wilderness. Just like on a matter of statistics. So I don't think that personally, I don't personally have an issue with killing and eating animals. I think that there's a lot of precedent, given that there are meat-eating predators in the wild, and that most of the animals, if we let them roam free, that we eat, would be eaten. Alright, fair enough, they're good, they're good food sources, protein dense, okay? We also don't have good protein-rich sources from plants, or naturally, or fabricated sources of protein. Like, we can make them sort of, but they come with other disadvantages, for the most part. Like, I've had some vegan mushroom-based sausage. Sausage, air quotes, because sausage is technically pork-based. So if you notice, if you ever buy a chub of turkey sausage, you will notice that it does not say sausage on it. It'll say something like breakfast patties or something. Legal reasons. Legally, sausage is pork-based. So I stopped eating pork a long time ago now. And one of the only options that was available to me on campus, where I was forced to eat on a regular basis because going to university, one of the only options for me to have protein-wise that wasn't pork was this vegan sausage. It tastes like mushrooms. I know it's mushroom based, but I don't like the taste of mushrooms. So there are disadvantages. Like I'm sure that that was a decade ago. I'm sure that the technology has gotten better in the same way that gluten-free cake mixes have gotten better in the last 10 years as well. But at the same time, like I've looked at vegan-based protein powder versus animal-based protein powder. You get more protein powder for the same amount of money if you buy the animal-based one. It's cheaper. It has more protein per serving. It has more complete proteins. You have to do jiggering to get complete proteins out of plants. So, I think that until we can fabricate a complete replacement for animal protein, that we should continue to eat protein, that we should continue to eat animals. But I also think that that we should kill them humanely. I don't believe in torturing animals. Name of my channel, CB. I think that probably our slaughtering system deserves an overhaul. But I don't think that humans should stop keeping animals or eating animals or eating animal byproducts. And I also don't think that that should be controversial. Point number 4. There's no inherent benefit to recycling. Now, why would I say that? Well, a recent development, which came to my attention because there was a mailer from my city's utility department. They're not recycling as much plastic. Turns out, this is because China has stopped taking plastic. So, let me just... So, we are recycling plastic because we're selling plastic to China and having them recycle it for us. So we are producing plastic waste and then putting it on a boat and shipping it halfway across the globe. Or, 3/4 of the way across the globe. I knew it wouldn't happen. I knew that it would not happen. I would get on a roll, or multiple rolls, and have to start recording again. So here we are, talking about shipping plastic to China. So we take our plastic and we put it into a giant plastic bin that we put by the curb for a gas-powered truck to drive by our houses and pick up and pour the plastic in with a bunch of other plastic, and then drive to a collection plant where it can be sorted, and then shipped all the way to the other side of the globe. In case you missed that, we sell our plastic recycling to China because it's too expensive for us to recycle it. And so when China stops recycling our portions of plastic, I think my city only takes plastic 1 through 3 now. Either 1 and 2 or 1, 2, and 3. there were like 9 plastic grades. So when China stops buying our plastic and recycling it for us, then we have no recourse other than recycling it using American labor, which is a lot more expensive. Because most parts of the world you can live for less than you can in America. So you can't pay, you have to pay people more if you're going to be using American labor to recycle. Alright, so what was my point in this? It's not carbon neutral. What part of this process sounds carbon neutral to you? We created the plastic originally, and then we transported it to wherever it was going to be made into a product, to house a product or whatever. Then that was transported to the store. And then, once it's used, once the thing that was in the plastic is used up and it's back into the frame of being recycled, there's a massive amount of carbon being generated because we have to ship it across the world because it's not economical for a first world country to recycle its own plastic. I also want to bring up that, so mainly we recycle plastic, right? And plastic melts. And then you can reshape it. You can melt it and then, or you can grind it into little pellets and then remelt it and make new plastic things out of it. What part of that process sounds carbon neutral? Like, even take all of the transportation costs out of it. Take every transportation cost out of this equation at all. Because it's, it's baked in to globalism. I'd rather have a global economy than not. Personally. Just me. So if you take out all of the transportation costs, you ignore the fact that we're shipping it to China because using American labor to recycle our own plastic would be too expensive. And you think about just the process of, okay, you're grinding it up into little pebbles with a machine that's going to be generating heat through friction. Like, that sounds like it would probably get pretty hot. Don't you think? Yeah, it would probably get pretty hot. And then, in order to reform the plastic into another vessel, another plastic vessel, you have to melt it. Okay, so more heat. More complicated machinery that gets very hot. What part of this sounds carbon neutral to anyone? Why is this environmentally friendly? How did this get on the list? How? Why are people talking about recycle and don't throw away cotton and not the water table? Why? Environmentalists. They're mental. So, those were 4 points that I think are controversial that should be less controversial. People think about your decisions a little bit more. Try to make it internally consistent. I recognize that I am hypocritical in at least 50% of the points that I bring up here, but I hope you enjoyed or learned something, or both. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you feel like, and goodbye for now.